You're listening to the Radio 690 ADV podcast. Hey, I'm Joe. You know what? This episode today is going to be about your home away from home on your adventure trip. What are some great ideas, or what are some of the ideas or some things to think about before you go on your adventure whenever you're going on your adventure trip? What are you going to take? Because remember, everything that you take on a real adventure trip, you got to lug with you everywhere you go. Coming up next on the Radio 690 ADV. Hey, what is up? What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Yep, you know what? We missed Sunday. Yep, and we also missed Monday on our podcast. But you know what? NFL playoffs were on, and I got to have a little bit of a life myself. So it was pretty cool. I've been a San Francisco 49er fan. I know everybody's like, you live in North Texas. How come you're not a Cowboys fan? Well, I'm not. Congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's going to be a great football game. Two really, really good teams going to duke it out. Anyway, hey, KTM North Texas. Also, don't forget Sherco of North Texas, as we like to call them now. They are now a Sherco dealer along with the KTM line. So if you're needing anything along the lines of a new dirt bike, adventure bike, any of that type of stuff, don't forget KTM of North Texas. That's slmracing.com, slmracing.com. You can go there and check out all of the inventory that they have. Not only that, they have parts and service. They'll take care of you from all makes and models of motorcycles. They're going to take care of you. Those guys over there are fantastic. Don't forget to ask for Bert. That's Bert at slmracing.com, slmracing.com, to check out their stuff. They're a great supporter of the channel. Anyway, on to the podcast. Home away from home. So many things to think about when you're on your adventure trip. Got to get my coffee in. But anyway, you're home away from home and some things to think about. And there's lots of guys out there and there's lots of adventure riders that are part of the channel that'll probably chime in, or they might chime in on our YouTube syndication in the comments section. Don't forget down there, put comments for other riders and new riders and stuff that come in and listen to this stuff to help them out and give them information to basically put them on the path. Because that's really what this is all about, is to shortcut as best as possible to get new riders and intermediate riders, or just riders from another, genre of motorcycles over to our side of the world to help them out. I mean, it doesn't need to be a secret, and we don't really need to be, a pain about it. I just think we all should just give up great information, and that makes us a better community for the motorcycle world, in my personal opinion, because I think adventure and dual sport riding, and even dirt bike riding, that side, the street is so much fun, but man, when you get off road, it really, really opens up. It just opens up your world. So you're home away from home. I mean, there's two different ways to adventure travel. Well, really three. There's one way is to, pack just the basic essentials, your clothes and things like that. And then you're going to go and stay in a hotel. And then there's the real adventure, traveling, where you pack everything, what you're going to sleep in. That is going to be your home. And that's kind of what this podcast is about. I mean, anybody can get a hotel room. And then there's the third, which is 50-50, as I like to call it. You can stay in a tent or whatever it is your shelter is going to be for sleeping, and then you can mix it up along the trip, and you can get a hotel room at certain locations that you're going to be traveling through on your adventure trip. But this is more about, your real adventure trip, or a real adventure ride, where you're really going to seek out basically rough camping, or off the beaten path camping, and or maybe state parks. There's some really, really fantastic state parks in the country, and your sole sleeping is going to be in some form of a shelter of some type. So some of the things that, that you need to figure out is where you're going to go and what type of ground or structures are going to be around, so that will allow you to pick and choose what you want to take. So to me, probably, if it's your first time out, I would probably venture to say tent. Tents are fantastic, but tents can get, even though you're like, oh man, I'm going to sleep in this little bitty, tent structure. I gotta have room. Sorry, I've got my cup of coffee, but, so that's what you need to do. How many people are going to be staying in that structure? Are you taking your girlfriend, your wife? Is it just you? I think the biggest thing to think about is, there's really three ways I think that you can do it. And the three ways are tent. You can, basically you can free camp, which is no tent. I've got a friend of mine that's what he does. He calls it going burrito. He's the real deal. He is the real deal. That is my buddy Ogman out in Arizona. No tent, no nothing, sleeping bag and a tarp. That's it. And he rolls up into tarp. But when I mean tarp, I mean a tarp, like a tarp you would cover up your firewood with. And then there is hammock camping. So, I think between those three, you kind of, you can dial in what you're feeling or you're thinking that what you want to do. I think for first timers, my opinion, you can figure it out. My thing is to get the lightest and the best that works for you for buck. That's it. For buck. Now, I have about 7 tents. I have 5 hammocks, and I have plenty of tarps, from all the way from ultralight tarps to burrito tarps that my buddy uses, all that type of stuff. And I think, you got to figure it out. So what I do is I've bought everything from the Redvers down to the instant tents, and not the ones where you just throw it up in the air and it turns into a tent. I'm talking an actual real tent that basically sets up in like 10 seconds. I've got lots of gear videos that are coming up, and we're working on them. We're trying to get some produced, because the weather has to be nice in order to do it. We haven't had great weather here in Texas. It's been up and down, and I'm going to show you some of the ones that I own and what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And then I have my hammocks, which are everything from, light and tight hammocks that are just big enough for me. And then I have the double wide hammocks. And then I have a hammock tent that's really cool. Got a review coming on that one and a gear talk about. I have everything from single pole tents to bivy tents to, I have all sorts of stuff. And so the kicker is I guess when you're on an event, depending on what your trip is going to turn into, I think what you need to think about most is where you're going to go and what kind of terrain are you going to be in? Because are you really going to be lugging the gear? You hear people all the time talk about, this and that and this and that. Now like I said, there's many different ways that you can adventure travel, but are you going to be lugging your gear with you up the mountain, over the mountain, through the canyon, down into the canyon, up the canyon, washouts, there's so many different, we're used to taking everything, basically pack muling, sleeping at a different campsite every single night for 12 to 14 days. And, weight becomes a huge factor. And I say it a million times, the bikes aren't a big deal until you have to pick them up. So, and depending on what type of terrain you're in, it can make for not a whole lot of fun depending on what motorcycle that you have. So I think the thing you need to think about is what kind of tent and how much space you need. Remember, the more space that you need, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 man, 5 man, 6 man. God, they go all the way up to 12 man tents and even bigger, So the question is how many do you need? And then what season do you need? Pretty much standard. None of us are like real mountaineers or any of that type of stuff. So a 3-season tent usually is perfect. That'll do everything. That'll get you down into the 30s or even the 20s. It'll produce really good shelter from the wind. It'll keep you somewhat insulated. That's a whole other segment when we get into sleeping bags and sleeping and all that stuff with being on the ground versus off the ground. 3-season tents, I think, are fantastic. I think that's really, you don't need much more than that. You can comment down below what you think. I mean, your 4-season tents, if you got the money and you want to go buy one, do it. I'll just say do it. So, how big? Now, what I carry now, it's down in our YouTube description, is a single pole tent. It's me. That's it. I've got my vestibule that's right out front. I've got my bug meshed sleeping area. It's a one man. And when I mean it's a one man, it is a one man. Okay. It fits me, my pad, my sleeping bag, my cell phone. I can't get my boots in there. I could put my jacket in there, use that as part of a pillow or something like that. All that stuff has to sit outside in the vestibule. Zips down. But the beauty part is it's smaller than a football and it only weighs 2 pounds. It's super light. I need one trekking pole to set it up. It takes 5 seconds to set up. It takes 10 minutes in the sun to dry or less. It's fantastic. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. It's real easy to set up. You can do it in sand, rock. Pretty much set it up anywhere. You can pin it between, 2 motorcycles if you need to set it up. It's really, really nice. Now, but it's a one man. It's for me. There's no room for anyone else or anything like that. It's tight quarters. But remember, if you want something that's light and super packable that will actually fit in your gear and it doesn't look like you brought the kitchen sink with you, it's not easy to find. Some of this stuff is actually pretty hard to find and know that it actually works. It actually works. It's been on a trip and people will actually back it up. This tent works very, very well. You'll get it, and if you buy one, you'll think, oh man, it's a little, I think it's chintzy, it's this, and this. It's light. I mean, it is light, literally. I could throw it, it literally, it's smaller than a Nalgene bottle. It's fantastic. It works perfect for me. And if you want to get off the beaten path, that is a perfect tent. But I can pack that, and I can pack my hammock, for just chilling and relaxing on a nice day when I get somewhere where I'm going. It takes up less space than all of my buddies' tents. Heck, it takes up less space than a lot of bivvies. So, but that's also 10 years of adventure traveling and going through, and I have tons of gear. So what I'm trying to do is maybe help chop out a lot of this stuff so you're not wasting your time, to help you get on the right path to where you can go get what you're looking for. You may not want super ultralight. You may want something that's a little bit more substantial and it just feels more substantial and all these things. And I get that. I've got plenty of those in my gear. So, take it with a grain of salt for whatever it is. And, you pick your path. So the next one, on your tent, so figure out how many people that you think you're going to need, or how many of a person tent you're going to need. Just remember, the more person, usually the bigger it gets, and they can get pretty sizable. So the best thing is, if you're looking for a tent, look at don't look at how big the tent is. Scroll down through the description and look at the pack size. Then get a tape measure and walk out to your motorcycle on the back of it and lay out how big it is. A lot of them, it's the poles And the rain fly, that in the tent itself, when they're packed in, they usually get long and they get kind of big around. So go out to your motorcycle and you want to see how big it is. A lot of times that'll turn off a lot of riders because they'll go out and they'll measure something out and they'll be like, my God, that thing is huge. But you look at the picture and you're like, I gotta have that. So make sure you don't get blinded by what it looks like. Understand that whenever you get it, you can't make it smaller than what it is. It is what it is. It takes what it takes to put it and erect it and put it on the, on the ground and turn it into, your headquarters for the evening. And you're not going to want to leave it. So if you're going on a big trip, remember what you have is what you got, and what you got is what you're going to be stuck with for all those days. And it's going to take up all that space. So the key is, for me, weight and pack size. That's all I care about. How much does it weigh and what can I pack it down to? Because your tent poles usually stretch it out, and they only make them so small. So keep that in mind. So, when you're looking at that, keep those things in mind. Next thing is ground camping. If you're, there's not a whole lot of bugs out west, but if you're camping in the Midwest, like Texas and Oklahoma, Arkansas and stuff like that, Louisiana, parts of New Mexico, there are bugs. So keep that in mind. You may want to get some form of a bug, mesh that you can slide your stuff into so that you're not getting eaten alive by mosquitoes or something like that. If you want to go like major burrito, as my buddy does, I haven't graduated to that level yet. So I'm gonna kind of stay away, from going burrito. But if you're serious and you really want to go super ultralight, the only thing you're packing really is a tarp and a sleeping bag and a mat. And that really frees up quite a bit because now you don't have a tent. But my one-man pole tent, I tell you what, it doesn't take up any space. It takes up actually less space than my canopy. So, keep that in mind. And it's not very expensive. It's down in the description. Now, the other way, and there's a lot of people that are doing this, and I'm starting to get into it too. So I do double whammy. I take both because I take up less room than most people's tents, and I get the best of both worlds. Hammock sleeping. So the thing with hammocks is you have to basically figure out two things. Where are you going? You're going to be able to put it up. And B, what time of year? Hammocks allow airflow underneath it. So as much as they're comfortable, if you've ever laid in a hammock in the summertime and it's only like maybe say 85 degrees outside, but yet your underside felt cooler than your other side, is because air moves underneath it and it takes all the heat away. So they're not insulated. They will actually cool you down. So on a really cool evening, if you don't have some form of internal mat, which they do make those, you will need to get a quilt. So, and the quilts basically, they go through the hammock, or the underside of it attached. And what it does is it insulates the underside of the hammock and it will keep you warm on a cold night. So that's something you want to think about with hammocks. But hammocks are fantastic. They're good on your back. They just, you'll wake up feel more refreshed, after a hard ride. Sleeping on the ground sometimes can be pretty tough on the body. But hammock camping's really cool and it's a lot of fun, but I'm not going to say it's for everybody. I think it's something that you need to try, maybe take a nap in one, and see, because sometimes it gets a little weird because when you slide into the hammock, you feel restricted. You feel, because it just wants to, by your sheer body weight, it wants to just kind of wrap up around you. But and it's okay to sit there and lay in one in your yard for an hour. But the other thing is, if you're going to try to sleep in it for 6 to 8 hours, that's a different world. So, like I said, it's not for everybody. And the other thing is you really need trees. Now, they do make these apparatuses that you can set up an ultralight, hanger or something like that. But, are you really going to be able to tote that on your bike? Probably not. and are you going to be able to make one out of sticks? Probably not. Now, I have been working on something, and if I can get it to work, I'll record it and I'll put it out to you guys. But what I'm working on is one connection point and one motorcycle, and using the motorcycle as an anchor point for a hammock. And so far unsuccessful, but I am still working on it. So I've come very close a couple of times, and if I can ever get it to work, I'm going to share it with everybody. And that way you serious guys, if you want to go out there and you just want to take your hammock at all, all the time, you're good to go. And not only that, you can also set up your hammock on the ground on a mat and use your hammock as long as you've got some form of a bug net or something like that. Or, cause you can usually set up a rainfly. I mean, I don't have to have a tree. I can set up, my rainfly on my motorcycle and, sleep under it. I've done it before and I'll do it again. There's nothing wrong with that. And it'll keep the rain and the moisture off of me, and very easy to set up. I connect it to the handlebar, front fender, and the back fender, and works fantastic. And you can sleep right up underneath that. I've got pictures on the website and all that stuff from past adventures, but you can set those up on the ground too. And then when you do get to trees, you can always set up and you can swing and sleep. So, but those are the three things that you really kind of want to dig into and find out if that's what you want to do. 70 to 80% of all adventure riders are tent campers. There are going to be tent guys that do take hammocks and stuff. I've just gotten into hammocks, just over the last couple of years, and I love them. I won't ever go on a trip without a hammock. Not just to sleep in, but just to relax. Man, it's amazing. You could be riding, for hours and just find a nice shaded area with a few, a little setup with a few trees, pin that sucker between two trees and man, kick back. And it's fantastic, man. You want to talk about taking stress off the body. It's awesome. Take you a little nap, 45 minutes, get back on that bike. You feel like a brand new person. So, but these are some of the things you're definitely want to think about. Any comments down below, for seasoned riders and stuff to help these new guys out. What do you do and what is it your setup is? This isn't secret sauce, Thing is some guys, I learned so much from everybody, that our stuff is very similar, but different. And I learn stuff all the time from these guys. Just like the other day when I was talking about taking chapstick, on your trips, because when your lips get chapped, it's awful. And I would have never thought of it in a million years. And he goes, what else it's really good for? One of the guys that subscribes to the channel and watches my stuff, he goes, rub that on your zipper when it's a little bit sticky, and it will help lubricate up your zipper. I would have never thought of that. Literally, I would have never thought of that. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to this, the community. The 690 ADV is a community. It's not a person. It's, it's a community, and it's everybody helping everybody. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to weed out all the douchey people and all the douche riders and all the guys that think that they're, better than everyone else. It's just motorcycles, man. It's just motorcycles, and it's camping, and it's seeing this great country of ours, and it's living life a little bit and having a fantastic time. And there's more to it. You know what? I mean, life's too short to hang out with douchey, mean people. Just, everybody help everybody. Let's get out. Let's see this country. Let's get some adventure time in, and let's ride. So, but thank you to everybody that's part of the channel. Don't forget, if it's your first time, hit subscribe, be part of it. Don't forget, you can find us on all the platforms, Google Podcast, iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Man, you pick it. You can find us. Don't forget our YouTube channel, youtube.com/690ADV. And don't forget, down in the description, all the really cool stuff. I've done a lot of work. Most of it's Amazon, some of it's eBay. It's part of our affiliate. It really does do very little for us, but it does help out. It does help with SD cards and stuff like that to shoot videos and things like that. And also, you're going to end up shopping there anyway. It just helps the channel out. Anyway, I'm Joe, Radio 690 ADV. Thanks for stopping in. Sorry it's running a little bit late, but you know what? It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. And I just, I got to have a life too. So, but get out, ride, find your adventure. Don't forget, need anything, any of that stuff down in the description. Don't forget, check out KTM North Texas, Sherco of North Texas, and see what kind of cool stuff they got going on there. Anyway, for 690 Radio, guess what? I'm Joe, and I'm out. You guys have a good one.